So Realme launched its GT flagship smartphone earlier in 2021, but then it's clearly realized, hang on, just the one flagship smartphone? Who does that anymore? And so it's pumped out two more GT branded handsets, the GT Master Edition and the Master Explorer. I've got the Master Edition right here. Still serves up some pretty solid specs, including a Samsung Super AMOLED display, got 65 watt super dart charge, all that good stuff. But some of the other hardware bits have been trimmed back in order to ease things financially. So although it is called the Realme GT Master Edition, what they actually mean is the not quite as good edition, but it's also a bit cheaper, so hooray for that. But enough of my yammering on, time to whip it on out of the box, take you on a full-on tour, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do plug subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Welcome to the Realme family, lovely little greeting there. So let's see what you actually get in this box. And there is of course one Realme GT Master Edition. Bit of Super Dart adapter action, mine's a 2-pin because it's a European review sample. A Type-C USB cable, oof. And you've also got yourself a rubber Johnny case bundled in there as well to keep your fresh new Realme GT Master Edition all nice and safe and scratch free. And as you can see there, it's got an interesting little pattern on it that's apparently inspired by the design of suitcases. Remember suitcases? And holidays? Ah, those were nice. And that's your lot in the box there, so now it's time to check out the Realme GT Master Edition. Now you've got a choice of designs when it comes to the Realme GT Master Edition. You can pick it up with a glass backing, but this right here is the vegan leather model. And as you can see there, it's got the same travel-inspired pattern action on the back there. And certainly gives the smartphone a very unique aesthetic, and it also helps with the grip as well, so double win. It is still quite a hard texture, it doesn't add a soft touch finish to the Master Edition, but it's definitely a lot less slippery than glass. And this Realme handset is a 6.43 incher as well, so it's not particularly massive compared with a lot of smartphones in 2021. Still a bit of a handful, but not too terrible. And it weighs in at 174 grams, so not particularly hefty either. So quite a clean design overall. Now let's check out that SIM tray as well and see what that's all about. And what you have here is space for a pair of SIMs simultaneously, but there's no micro SD memory card slot, so you can't expand the onboard storage. Alright, let's get this little mofo all set up and take a proper full-on tour of the rest of it. Okay, we're ready for action, and the Realme GT Master Edition sports a bit of Android 11 action, of course, but you've got the Realme UI 2.0 slathered on top of that. It's quite a hefty launcher, but thankfully you do get features like the apps tray, the ability to drag down the notifications bar, all the usual stuff. So it's not removing any of those essential features that we really like. And thankfully you've got full customization as well. Not really a massive fan of this grey wallpaper, gotta say there's a bit too much grey here on the Realme GT Master Edition, so let's change that up. You can change pretty much everything, including the grid layout, the icons, the transitions, and if you just dive into wallpaper. You do actually have quite a lot of more colourful efforts on here, but of course I prefer. Good bit of nerdy anime action, there you go, much better. You've actually got even more customization options if you dive into the personalization section in the settings menu. You've got plenty of stuff you can play around with, including the fingerprint animations. You can get a variety of different weird and wonderful styles on the go. And because the Realme GT Master Edition sports an OLED screen, you've also got an eclectic selection of always-on displays that you can choose from. Lots of digital clocks, analog clocks, and just weird randomness. Take your passion to the extreme. I would say it kind of depends on what your passion is. Exactly. I mean, my passion is for whiskey, so it basically just tell me to get blind, pass out, pukey drunk. And as usual, you can customize absolutely everything about that always on display, including the text color, the alignment, the size of it, and exactly what info will appear on there. And I really do like the edge lighten feature as well. This basically acts like a notifications light when anything pops in, demanding your attention. It does work better with curved displays, I've found, which obviously don't get here on the Realme GT Master Edition, but as usual, you can change up the color and it looks very vibrant and nice. Realme UI also serves up the usual range of gestures and motion controls as well. So for instance, you can raise to wake, you can swipe with 3 fingers to take a screenshot. And even though the GT Master Edition isn't exactly a whopper of a smartphone, you do have some helpful one-handed features like a proper one-handed mode. And you can also drag all those app icons down towards the bottom edge of the screen just by sort of swiping up and in like so, which makes it nice and easy to select something. And yeah, the GT Master Edition has that in-display fingerprint sensor, which so far, touchwood, seems very responsive, no hanging about. And that's backed by a good bit of face recognition as well, so let's just get that all set up. Oh wow, super quick. You've got raise to wake support, and you can have it so the face unlock only works when your eyes are open as well, and just as nippy as that fingerprint sensor. And the Master Edition smartphone boasts a whopping 256 gigs of internal storage as well, so you can go completely nuts downloading apps and whatever else your twisted little heart desires. But if you ever do actually manage to fill it up somehow, well, there's no way of expanding it via micro SD. And that 6.43-inch Super AMOLED display is crafted by Samsung, so you know it's going to be a good one. Doesn't seem to be the poppiest and punchiest out there that I've tested recently, even though it is set to vivid colours by default. You can of course dial that back for more gentle hues if you prefer. You do have video features tucked away in the settings, which can apparently boost the colours when playing video, and also boost the brightness when playing HDR videos as well. Although, to be honest, doesn't really make a massive difference, certainly not to my knackered old peepers. It's a full HD plus resolution. I had absolutely no problem with the visuals on that front. Nice and crisp, plenty of detail packed in there as well. Because it's an OLED panel here on the Realme GT Master Edition, you get nice deep dark blacks and quite crisp clean whites as well. Sadly no HDR streaming support in the likes of Netflix to speak of though. In the display settings, you've got the usual eye comfort modes and everything as well. And if you head to more as well, you can tinker with the screen refresh rate. This is set to auto select by default. So that'll change the refresh rate automatically on your behalf. It'll bump it up whenever you're using a supported app, for instance. Otherwise, you can just stick it on high 120Hz refresh full time. Unfortunately, on the audio front, it is just a mono speaker here on the Realme GT Master Edition. Just that bottom firing one, no stereo speaker set up. But is the audio actually any good? Let's find out.
First up, I've got to say that rough and tumble design means that the XR20 is an absolute brick. We're talking chunky, heavy, and frankly, I sometimes struggled to sit comfortably when it was stuffed in my shorts.
So pretty bloody loud on that top volume, but the clarity isn't amazing. So definitely if you want to be relaxed and really enjoying the audio, whether you're kicking back with a bit of YouTube, bit of music or whatever, definitely want to plug in some headphones. You've got a wired headphone jack down here at the bottom. Otherwise, all the usual Bluetooth support if you want to go wireless. So now let's chat performance, and the Realme GT Master Edition is powered by the Snapdragon 778G chipset, backed by 8 gigs of RAM. And I've got to say I'm impressed by the performance so far, and the benchmarking scores as well. Very strong, quite comparable to some of those Snapdragon 800 series chipsets. Download speeds haven't been fantastic, but I think that's just my my home Wi-Fi is a bit balked today, unfortunately. But certainly apps seem to load up nice and nipply. And the Master Edition should be able to handle a good bit of gaming. Of course, you've got the Realme UI Game Space tool, complete with the obligatory jazzy startup animation. And this is great for gamers because it offers up all kinds of different tools to help you get your most out of your gaming session. You've got the Pro Gamer mode, which can help to dedicate all resources to your chosen title, complete with jazzy sound effects. You can lock the brightness, you can turn off all notifications. So let's skip straight onto Genshin Impact, one of the most resource-hungry Android games out there, and see if the Realme GT Master Edition can handle it. So in Genshin, despite the fact that I've boosted the performance, the graphics quality is set to low by default. I'm going to bump that up to medium because I reckon that this phone can handle it. And yeah, as hoped, the Realme GT Master Edition did not shit its pants at all with Genshin Impact on those medium detail settings. Frame rate stayed nice and fluid, even when there was lots of scary things trying to beat the living crap out of me. And even though I was playing for a good wee while, I found that the phone didn't even begin to heat up. That's helped along by the fact you've actually got a vapor chamber built in there for your all-day gaming sessions. Just helps get rid of that pesky heat. And the 700 series Snapdragons tend to be quite energy efficient anyway. They don't tend to heat up. And while you're gaming, you can quickly and easily yank out the Game Space toolbar as well, which just again allows you to play around with all the different features and settings. So you can manage the notification support, you can actually start recording your screen. Got fast access to WhatsApp and Messenger if you're chatting with your mates as you're playing online or whatever. And you've also got a touch optimization feature as well, so you can actually boost the sensitivity or lower them as well if you want, just to suit your own personal playing style. And that Snapdragon 778G chipset provides 5G support on both of those SIMs as well, which is great to see, and a bit of Wi-Fi 6 action too. And thankfully, after being quite slow when I was setting up the Realme GT Master Edition, thankfully it seems to have sorted itself out, so it was probably just all local Wi-Fi being a bit pants. You get a 4,300 mAh battery stuffed inside of the Realme GT Master Edition. Certainly not one of the biggest around, certainly at this sort of price point, but so far, touch wood, that Snapdragon 778G chipset is proven rather energy efficient. The likes of gaming on Genshin Impact does drain the battery quite quickly, but then that's basically the case for any smartphone out there. But if you're just doing everyday shenanigans, messaging, playing with apps and so on, you should be able to get a full day's use out of a single charge here. And the great news is, even if you do need to give the Master Edition a quick top up at any point, you've got that 65 watt super dart charge support, so you can just plug it in and you should be able to get a good extra bit of percentage on there for just 10 minutes of the plug. No wireless charging support sadly here on the Master Edition though, so boo, hiss, etc. So let's finish up this unboxing with a quick squint at the Realme GT Master Edition's triple lens rear camera. So the primary sensor is a 64 megapixel effort, but it does use 4-in-1 pixel binning to shoot 16 megapixel photos by default on that auto mode. If you do want the maximum resolution, you can always bump it up to the 64 meg mode. You do have the usual AI mode, of course, which you can activate at any point, and this will just add certain features and effects, like for instance, if it detects a face, it'll turn to portrait mode. But you can just dismiss that with a quick tap like so. And the usual filters and other camera shenanigans, and plenty of bonus modes to play around with, including the aforementioned portrait mode, which can add a nice bokeh style background effect. You've got a night mode for those low light situations, and if we swipe across here, loads more to play around with as well, including good old story mode, hooray, and a good bit of expert action as well. So if you know what you're doing as far as like sort of ISO levels, white balance, all that stuff's concerned, you can have a good play around with all these different features and get the scene looking just the way you want it. You've also got a couple of different lenses you can swap to at any point, including an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle shooter for a pulled back view of the action, and there's a 2 megapixel obligatory macro lens as well for your extreme close-ups. There's some proper nightmare fuel for you. And here's just a small selection of sample photos which I quickly snapped around the old homestead, just to give you an idea of what the Realme GT Master Edition is capable of. So far, touch wood, colour reproduction seems perfectly natural as long as you leave the AI mode off, otherwise sometimes that kind of boosts them, makes them look certainly very in your face, but a little bit artificial. Looks like the Master Edition can cope alright with strong contrast as well, a bit of saturation but nothing too troublesome. And those indoor snaps are looking alright as well, not too soft or grainy, so let's see how it actually handles moving subjects and more testing conditions. Swap to video and you'll see you can shoot your home movies in either Full HD 720p or 4K resolution. You got the 30 or 60 frames per second option at Full HD. If you bump it up to 4K though, you can no longer shoot at 60 FPS. And then last up, the 32 megapixel selfie shooter, which as you can see there is just pushed away in the top corner. Should be absolutely fine for your everyday snaps. You've got the usual portrait mode action as well if you want that. And I mean, goddamn, sex on legs right there. And there you have it. That in a nutshell is the Realme GT Master Edition. As you can see, the specs aren't quite as strong as the original GT flagship, but hopefully that UK asking price will be nice and tidy. Don't actually know it at the time of shooting this video, unfortunately, because I'm shooting this ahead of the official UK launch, but once that information is known, I will bung it in the video description. Realme also launched the GT Master Explorer Edition, just to further confuse matters, which again has different specs. Well, done you a full unboxing of that one as well. It might not be live at the same time as this video, but it should be going up shortly after, if so. And it'd be great to hear your thoughts on these Master Edition smartphones down in the comments below. Please do poke subscribe, ding that notifications bell, and have yourselves a friggin' awesome rest of the week. Cheers everyone, love you.